If you work in D2C and you use AI and you're wondering what the F is going on every week, this is your podcast, the AI-DTC-WTF-Podcast, your home for tactical tips, strategies, and ideas that you can implement right now into your AI workflows to make your brand or agency more money. Welcome to another episode of AI-DTC-WTF. It's so good to be with you again, Will. And today's guest, Cody Plofker, legend, obviously. Everybody loves this guy, doing a ton with AI. The episode was absolutely mental, in my opinion, in terms of things that he talked about. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I think mental is an understatement. It seems like he has become his own CRO agency in and of itself. And it's like very clearly driving results, but also like how to properly use Claude Code and how to incentivize your employees to use Claude Code. I think he just did a really nice job touching on all these things that we're all sort of stressing out about. But if you're interested in landing pages, this is the one to listen to.
Yeah, AI landing pages, creative process, what is, the way that the systems work in his organization and organizational AI usage. So a lot of good topics touched on today. And so let's go ahead and get into the episode. As I was just saying to you, everybody loves hearing from you and loves hearing what you're up to. So the first question I want to talk about is what you mentioned to me at the Meta Performance Marketing Summit and showing me, which was how many of these landing pages that you've built, which you admitted was not a great use of your time as the CEO, but you said was had been huge in terms of it. One question I have is, you're building all these and you're going through them. How are you keeping track of the tests of all of this, like in a way that makes sense? Because you're doing so many iterations. I mean, everybody does this a little bit differently, but since you're building them manually, it's not like through a tool or something else, or maybe you built a testing tool yourself. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I built a roadmap tool. That was like actually one of the first things I did, and I don't follow it. I don't organize it. I just hired somebody new, which we'll talk about, to like run this whole process, for me, and I'm just going to like give her everything that I built and do, but I'm just like terrible at taking time to do it, but theoretically it would be in there. Otherwise, it's just like an IntelliGem, stuff like that, But yeah, built a lot of pages, combo, built new landers, and then just doing a ton of, website CRO with Claude as well.
So just one more follow-up question on this. You've gone through and how have you decided which elements? Because a lot of the pages that I saw that you had built, and maybe you can send us a couple of these and we can include them in the show notes that we could talk about. These are the things that you built, but like, they have obviously it's the PDP and then it has a whole bunch of features under it. Like it has different, skin tone variation looks at it. It has, all these different features that I'm sure you've seen have converted before. How do you decide which to put where? Or is it, based on what you know of like what's been the best performing combos?
Yeah, that's a good question. So those were actually sections. I can just walk you through what the process was. Those were our PDP sections that I built for our PDP for a new launch that we had. And so for me, the most foundational thing, like, is not even like, I've said this in a lot of the tweets, like, and I'm like, right now, and I hate like boasting or bragging, but I'm just excited about this. Like, I'm 5 for 5 on intelligence tests that I've ran end to end in Claude. And by end to end, I mean like starting with like the insights and the research and the strategy. And so what's important to me and what I think is cool is not just that I can design and dev stuff, but it's because you can do that so fast. I actually think the strategy is more important. You only have a certain limited number of testing slots that you can take up. And so being able to do those to a much higher degree. And I think I'm really onto something, because prior to this, like, we have never had 5 winning tests in a row. Usually it's like 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, and these were like some pretty big wins, like 5, 10% lifts. And why I think that has happened.
For 10% lift on CVR.
Yeah. CVR revenue.
That's insane. I mean, relatively speaking, like that's crazy.
Yeah. And nice. The fact that it's multiple in a row. And the reason why is this CRO skill that I trained. And I just I didn't know where this was going to go. It was just one Sunday. I was just like, hey, I feel like Claude could do a pretty good job with CRO, and obviously tweeted about it. And so I just started like feeding Claude everything I had access to. And so gave it IntelliGem's MCP. I gave it a Slack channel of all of, just had to go through that. I gave it spreadsheets. I gave it transcripts of looms from a past CRO agency. I gave it I always have granola notes on when I'm recording my podcast. So I've had Dylan Ander on twice, the, CEO of Heatmap, gave it those notes. I gave it, he later sent me his book as a PDF, just kind of built these knowledge bases and trained it. And then, and what I'll do is I'll just go to Claude and I'm like, hey, this is what I want to do. Here's what I have. What else do you need? And I'm like, well, what do you need for UX best practices? And Claude tells me, hey, Baymard. I'm like, all right, cool. Go scan the web, find that stuff. So kind of has like all of the CRO frameworks. And right, for example, Claude is trained on when coming up with a test. It's trained on the ICE framework, right? Everyone's, I think, familiar with the ICE framework. So it's trained on that. It's trained on, we look at highest traffic pages above the fold. Like that's going to be the higher leverage areas, there's just like a certain testing framework that we've picked up over the years from working with different agencies and stuff. It's trained on that. So it has the CRO basics. Then it has our data. So it has, at the time it was IntelliGems MCP. Now it has GA4. We have the Heatmap API. So it's pulling in data from multiple sources and able to, analyze that data and have whatever it is, dashboards. And then where I think is, the coolest one is the qualitative stuff. I have this one really big customer intelligence markdown file, and it analyzes a lot of subjective insights. So it has our Junip MCP reviews. It has, what else? RichPanel CX tickets API. It has OuterSignal MCP. It has ListenLabs, which is like a customer survey focus group thing we do for prospects. We can kind of build panels of people and send surveys to them and do customer interviews. And then we use Typeform as well for a lot of like internal customer advisory stuff. And so Claude analyzes all of that. And I have skills. So any of these skills, like CRO skill, landing page building skills, anytime they run, they actually refresh those APIs, hold new fresh info into that customer intelligence markdown file. And so the reason that's important is a long way of saying to your question of where do you even start? How do you even know what to test? Is like, I just ask Claude, like it'll analyze all of this. And so I think that's been, to me, the biggest factor. But then I can go and design 4 variations of each test, stacking variables, and be able to design and develop features. So the one you're asking me about, Claude knows this markdown file analysis thing, knows that shade matching friction is the number one, thing. I then have a skill. You do something once and you build a skill that does competitive intelligence and looks at 8 different websites and sees how they handle this friction, what they do on their PDP sections, builds a mock-up of it. Once we get it in a good place, gets that over into Shopify. So that's kind of like a little bit of the workflow that has been really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I guess I've sort of 2 follow-ups on that one. The first question is, you start running this process. At what point are you, as the user, if you will, getting involved? Is it not until like the page is fully developed and then you start providing feedback on the page development and say like, hey, let's change this block, let's change that block? Or do you have sort of checkpoints throughout your markdown files to say like, hey, Cody, like this is what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Every phase I'll get involved.
Okay.
Usually there's like, there's a plan. So usually I'll do a brief first. I'll be like let's say we're trying to come up with a CRO test, or I try to build these sections. There's some component of a brief where I'm like, hey, build me an HTML file, like pull in from these sources. And obviously I'll build a skill for building this brief. And part of that, I like to see, because everything has got to be human in the loop. Like you can't just do like AI slap for it. I like to see the brief, which has the insights, the data, the qual and quant, the test plan. Like I just try to think of it of like, what would a world-class CRO or digital product function be without AI, And like, what would I want? I would want these briefs. I'd want based on this user research, based on this data, based on competitors. Like, so I just have Claude doing that. So I'll review that, give any feedback, give any notes, kick it off. Then we go to the next phase, which is, wireframes, mockups, and it'll do some mockups. I'll give feedback on that. And then once we get those into a good spot, there's probably multiple rounds of visions. We'll then take that into Shopify, have a whole workflow for building out those Shopify pages from Claude. That's where there's a ton of back and forth. There's no like, I want to be super clear. Like this is a really poor use of my time. I do it at night because it's fun. I do it on weekends for fun. Like there's multiple rounds of revisions. This is not like a one shot, It's like I can one shot a page, 80% good. That final 20%, that's taking a long period of time.
Yeah, I certainly hear that. And like sometimes getting even the page into the Shopify pages, like, and like ensuring the API is like firing correctly can be such a pain in the ass. The other question I have is, it sounds like you're using like a lot of social listening tools, to help build these pages. And it's almost like a chicken or the egg, situation, in the sense that like, are you thinking like, I'm going to build this page first and then I'm going to build ads around it? Or like, I have these ads now that are performing well, so I'm going to build the page for those ads and then subsequently build, additional ads on that sort of angle or persona?
That's a good question. Almost like thinking of them together. So some of them are, for these pages is, so what I have for the landing pages, I have probably 5 or 6 templates. So those are like different pages, and then like in Shopify, they're templates. So call it a listicle. We call it a performance LP, but it's more just like, your standard LP with a buy box. We have like an enhanced PDP that's like, looks like a PDP, but conversion optimized. We have like a 10 reasons why advertorial that I ripped from Zach Stuck. We have, so there's like 4 or 5 of those. Nice. And then those are templates. Shopify can duplicate them. You can put copy of them. So those are just like the building blocks. And then like my goal, and want to chat with you about this because like I'm not there on the ad side yet. Like I want to just like boom, have an idea and be able to build a funnel. And to me, a funnel is like a toolkit of ads. Call it like 12 plus ads, diversified creative, statics. Like do like a minimum viable test and have that go to like an adjacent landing page. That makes sense.
Cool. No, I like that a lot. Honestly, like using social listening insights to do CRO to then do ads, because I've been doing the opposite and just like using insights from ads to generate the landing pages. But then at that point, that angle may have fatigued out. So like, I feel like for even discovering net new angles, like that approach makes a ton of sense. The other question I have is, and then we can, I'm sorry, move on, Andrew.
This is good shit. This is the real shit right here. We're good.
People love sharing like, CRO agents and shit. And like, I have a CRO agent that's like, CRO QC agent. And like, I think it's pretty good. And folks ask me all the time, like, can I just like have a bunch of QC agents to go through this? Like, why do I have to be involved at all? And maybe you can sort of like talk to that and like how just like having QC agents isn't going to solve your problem, and like why having human in the loops and ultimately like having taste matters here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. Like, so how are people using QC agents? Like, what components of it?
Yeah, so for example, like your page should have like social proof and a block that has all of the press articles that mentioned you. Like, and if you don't have these like 20 things, like your page won't perform or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think everything is the way I think about it. Like, it's the same way that you would manage people. Like I was actually doing a unrelated thing earlier, and I was like whisper flowing and giving feedback. And like if somebody walked into the room I was in, like they would think I was like on a call with a person. Like I was very much just like talking and be like, no, this is like the framework we need for this, was like redoing our KPIs. And like I just think about it as managing people. And it's the same way. Like you can also choose to take junior mid-level employees and not give them a lot of clarity and direction and not be in the workflow, and see what you get. Or you can do a good job of giving them clear direction up front, giving them proper context, and helping them tweak along the way. And so I just think it's the same thing where like I'm not trying to completely remove myself. Like that's where you get slop. And at the very least, you have to spend a ton of time. Like I put an ungodly amount of time into building our design system, like a painstakingly amount of time. And now I have this giant, GitHub markdown file of our design system, but just took so long. And so now I can one shot a page, have it be 80% there, but it's not perfect. AI is deterministic and it still messes up some stuff. So yeah, you have to be in the loop. I think building skills and context layers are the highest leverage things that you can do to allow you to be more hands off later. But it's not just like let me set up this thing. I just think that's just all that like AI engagement bait on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I built this thing that's launching 1,000 ads. And that's where I've made the mistake on CRO stuff, landing page stuff. I've been much more detailed. When I've tried to do ads, I'm like, oh man, I'd love to launch 1,000 ads. And so like, I'll get like a good reference. I'll get like a few ads and then I'll try to like scale it. And it's just like, it's just too much and it like becomes slop, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. Like similar to you, I like just hired someone to sit in Claude code and generate ads. Like, cause I tried to do it initially, like just generate me 100 ads. Like here it's social listening, here's ad performance and like, it's shit, like that, the outputs. But anyway, sorry, Andrew, take it on.
So first of all, well, again, you don't have to ever apologize to me. It's okay. If we go on a riff, it can be a 30-minute riff. That's fine. I think, let's go back to this creative strategy thing just briefly, or creative overall. And Cody, you just alluded to it again. I think that this is what the biggest one that a lot of folks are trying to solve as it relates to AI. That's like, okay, we're going to take over creative and we're going to figure it out. Will's putting out a ton of proposals on this, right? From Selfmade of doing AI for creative for people. Two questions, and maybe you both can answer this question, which is, first, what is a system now, or what systems need to be in place now to make higher converting creative? And if they're not already in place. And second question is, what are in 6 months or at the end of the year, the end of 2026, like where is the creative workflow going to be? Because right now I feel like it's piecemeal. I feel like it's all over the place. And I feel like there's very few that have mastered the workflow aspect of this, of the briefing to the to all of these pieces to bring the teams together. And obviously, like, different tools are solving this to some degree, like HQ is solving this, like, to a degree, but I'm curious of what you guys think, and of like what it is now to be successful, and like what's it going to be in 6 months. Because Cody, you've been really spot on with predictions. Frankly, I did some research, and the things you've said have largely become true. So I'm curious of what you think.
I'll say I have not mastered I'm like a laser focused person, and so all my effort has really gone on the CRO stuff. So Will is way ahead of me on image gen and stuff like that. I want to get a lot better there. I think it is. I think it's interesting. I wouldn't want to be a software like an Icon, or I think something launched last week like Tempo. I think a lot of that is very commoditized by people who can build stuff. And I've seen a lot of what Will has built is I think whether you're doing it directly in a Nano Banana or ChatGPT, or you're doing it from Claude Code pinging API, I like that. I consider Claude the white collar operating system that you never have to leave Claude, and you can just do everything from there. Because think about it, we have motion MCP pulling into there, we have our polar MCP, we have meta MCP. You just have all of your sources. We have shop so. I just think getting all of that stuff in one place is incredibly valuable. And one of the things we're working on a ton internally is even if you don't know where it's and this is so hard, getting people to change their workflows and behaviors if they're used to using docs or sheets or stuff like that, and now asking them to do it in Claude is very different. But I just know that it's going to be valuable having everything connected in a context layer and talking to each other. And I don't even know that I know what the value is going to be yet, but I just think that's a huge part of it, is the context. It's the models are not everything. The models are great, but they're all good. The models are good. Actually having your context is the most important thing. So I think that's extremely important. And the more you can document and orchestrate that stuff. But Meta is probably going to do it. Meta is going to do a lot of it. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, to what you said, I think is true. And, we have now, I just looked, we have 70 members that are connected to the Foxwell MCP, our knowledge base. And, that's every call transcript we've ever had. That's everything in Slack. That's every SOP. And bringing that all together, what you said even about the landing pages is absolutely absurd. How valuable that is in terms of being able to bring an answer forth of what's really going to work. So I think that's a good shout. But yes, I do agree that Meta's going to do a certain percentage of this. And yes, I think tools are tough. I think that the challenge is really sitting down and looking at where are the inefficiencies in your own workflow and how are you trying to solve it. I don't know, Will, what do you think about this? What are people do? What can people do better now, and then what does it look like in the future, you think?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's sort of three pieces of the equation, as it at least pertains to ads and by association landing pages. And I definitely am a broken record with this, but it's the first thing is a gap analysis, and saying you compare and juxtapose yourself to other folks in your vertical. What sort of formats, personas, angles, emotions are they testing that you're not? And sort of index all of your ads, have Claude Sonnet 4.6, just go through all of your ads, look at your personas, angles, emotions, and say this is how I compare to my competitors. Is sort of piece one. Piece two, of course, is a time series analysis, where you just use a Meta API, pull in all of the ads you've ever run for the past 365 days or 5 years or whatever, tag them all with the same taxonomy, where you have persona, angle, emotion, format. And so you can sort of say like, well, you know what? I turned this ad off a year ago, but like I haven't run that, persona angle format since then, right? So you're able to sort of resurface these old winners rather than like lose all these compounded learnings. And I think that's where a lot of folks get wrong is that they have had probably so many successful equations in the past that have just like been lost to time, right? It's such a pain to go look through your meta ad library and see like what has worked in the past. And then the third piece is the social listening, right? Like perpetually scraping your reviews, subreddit comments, Facebook comments. And then if you add those all together, give them proper weights, you have a really good sense of like what I need to be creating, right? Like here are my holes from the gap analysis. Here's what's worked in the past. And then like, here's what consumers are saying about myself now. The cherry on top is using, Reddit and TikTok and Google Trends to see is there anything trending right now that I can like quickly spin up ads for and like take advantage of that. So like if you can spin up ads within like 24, 48 hours, I know it's hard, but it's actually not that hard. If you're able to do that, and sort of add that as like the as the gravy, then like you're going to be in a really, really good spot. So that is like sort of my equation and how I think about things, and it's like definitely been pretty successful.
Quality is important, but and like obviously the strategy is important, and getting the right the right insights, the right data, right? But also like just speed to launching fun. Like I'm making that a core KPI of my growth team is just like we just need to have we're going to say 24-hour funnel launch time. Because we review data Monday. We have a deck. We're trying to automate that deck, but it's just like, all right, cool. Here's an idea we have. This angle is taken off. Here's an iteration on it. Like that used to be, and pre-AI, I'm sure some teams were better than others, but like that just had taking too long where you get a idea and it's like, oh, we'll brief that. We'll put it in Asana. We'll go to design revisions. We'll build a landing page. It's like a month later, you're like, you missed the opportunity. So it's like, no, let's get that live tomorrow. Like that's it. And even if like that's just a V1 and then you can go and then brief UGC creators on that and like scale that up, I just think being able to get some quick insights on that is so valuable.
Yeah, completely. I mean, that's something that you're doing a scalability school podcast with Zach Stuck. It's something within his teams, right? Is just absolutely so rapid. Like the speed is a huge part of the component of what makes it successful.
Can I tell you what some of this comes from? I had a landing page that somebody sent me, and it was a new template I hadn't seen before. And I sent it to a few people, and I sent it to Zach, and Zach said, "I'll tell you how it's doing in 24 hours." And it haunted me. I was so upset. But I thought about it for like literally until now, and I was like, "That's what it takes to be successful." And if I asked my team to launch this, it would be an embarrassing length of time to get it launched.
Yeah, I mean, I think so much of it is going through and assessing the systems you have now and completely adjusting all of this. I mean, it's a totally different ballgame as it relates to digital marketing within. I think so much of the AI stuff is around ads and it's focused on ads, but it's not. We all know that launching ads that match to landers in the persona-driven funnel is like ultimately what helps scale a lot of these big brands, or like yours and others, and it helps even small brands scale up. Like it's a bigger part of it. And there was way too many tools in the middle, and it doesn't need to be that way anymore. And I think if you
tools and people, too many people in the middle too. That's the problem.
That as well.
Like you have to brief a copywriter and you got to brief a designer, and you have no idea what their priorities are and what's on their workload, and then you have too many approvals. Versus like, again, and I'm not doing this outside of at night, but let's say it's one person. Let's say it's me. It's like, all right, cool. I have an idea for an ad. I'm going to go make some ads. I have an idea for a landing page. I'm going to make a landing page. Like that's so much of actually what the value is like, you don't have to rely on other people to actually produce stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also think that there's not enough in terms of employee alignment on this. There's not enough incentive for them to be faster. Right. So this is something that I've been working with a couple of agencies on that are in this kind of scaling phase. And that's what we're working on with them is basically like, how do we design systems that when the employee saves 40% of time, taking Cody, what you said before, I think you said if you were starting an agency today, one of the three things you would do is an AI automation, the service for brands, and you'd automate and take a percentage of the savings. And that's essentially what I have gone and said to these folks.
That was an old tweet. I forgot about that one.
we went deep cuts on our research on this, but like,
I think I said that. I think I said like whitelisting as a service.
yeah, of course, whitelisting is incredible.
And I
as a
said one
service.
other. There was one other one on the tweet. I forgot what.
There are definitely some Foxwell founder members that are functionally whitelisting agencies now. That's like pretty much.
No, I meant like ads whitelisting as a service.
Oh, ads whitelisting. I got you.
Yeah, that was
also good.
Sorry,
also good business. But no, like, so my point is, I think a lot of that is employee incentive when you're sort of, okay, look, if you're going to do this, we're going to save X amount of time. Let's put that into dollars, and that's going to be a bonus for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big part of it. So when you're utilizing, Claude, and you're building all this, like, don't you ever run out of storage and all this, like tokens? Like, how do you functionally do this? I'm just curious, because because from my end, like, I'm hitting the wall. I feel like a lot of people are. I don't know. I'm just curious of your take.
So I have my whole team on, Claude Enterprise Plan. Most people are on Pro. Power users either request extra usage and, we approve it, or are, upgraded on like a max plan, which is, I think, like $100 a month. If they're proving that it's, worthwhile. I'm on a personal plan, which is a $200 a month max plan. I would say, and I'm like, what I would say as a power user, outside of that like 1 week period where they had all of those like usage limits that was like clearly bugs, I never hit. Like I push it really hard. I use 4.7 extra high. Use it. I mean, I don't use it that much 9 to 5 because I'm busy in meetings and shit. But mornings, nights, weekends, like I almost never hit it. So I don't know. I don't know if I have problems with it, but I've thought about it. Like what would I pay somebody to run these CRO tests? Like I'd pay thousands a month. So like I'm paying $200 a month, but like if I had to pay $1,000 a month, like I think it's legitimately building that much value for us. And I just canceled 3 tools, that'll save us a few thousand a month that not only are saving money, but they would actually be inhibiting our workflow.
Yeah. One thing, so you talked about your creator in residence program and shipping daily content. And so I'm wondering, like, how's AI playing into this with that group?
We're not there yet. It's been a hard one to build and just find like the perfect people and team to lead it. We're doing stuff, but it's been slow to start. I think so as big of a AI bull as I am, I'm actually pretty bearish on AI content. Like I think static ads are one thing and it's great, but like when I see people talk about like AI-DTC, I'm just like, you're so far off the mark.
Totally. It's most of it. Yeah.
So it's like, and I've read some stuff that's pretty good on this lately, like the ClickUp, founder or CEO just did a, layoffs, and he did a really good tweet on it. And like, he had some really good points that he said in it. But I think part of it is like, he was talking about essentially automating as much of the administrative stuff so you can spend more time talking to customers, and it's like, how can you automate as much of the operation side or the back end stuff or the analysis ingestion so you can spend more time being creative? Like that's what I would want my creative strategist to do, is like, almost just think, where creative strategy used to be, let me poke into motion, let me build these reports. Like there was a lot of time spent in an ad account. Hopefully that can just be handed to somebody on a silver platter of, here's exactly what the data is for the last 7 days, and here's the ad you should make. And then maybe that changes the role. Like everyone's talking about the role of the media buyer changing. Maybe that changes the role of the creative strategist. And because if that can be done by anybody, it's like, I actually just want to hand that to a creator who really gets social content. Like that's, I think, the change there. So that's my goal, is we have some dashboards that just show, our top ad account, but also like organic social trends and data, And so hopefully this is my vision for it. We have the studio built out. If you're listening, I just need the person to run it. We're just trying to find the people, is like have like airplayed like on a big TV in our studio, like these different dashboards. That's like, hey, here are 4 videos, and here's top trending thing. Acne prone skin is trending on TikTok right now. Here are the top 4 viral videos. Like make a version of that. Like that would be my goal. So it's just like long answer to say, like, not automating the creative, but automating all of the prior stuff, the project management, the insights, the stuff like that, and then the post production as well.
Yeah, that makes
you have
sense.
more time to spend on actually making stuff.
Totally. I want to sort of go back to something we were talking about earlier, because similar to you, like I am like addicted to Claude Code, right? Like I think there are certain people that just like find it impossible to pull yourself away from. How do you incentivize your team to sort of have that sort of same level of commitment, right? And like I've done certain things internally, but like I'm curious, like for you, Cody, it probably takes maybe what, like 2-3 hours to do a landing page now at this point. If you were to hand it off to someone to your team, it'd probably take them with the same process 4 or 5 days. So like, how do you sort of reconcile that? And like, what are you sort of going and like, what are you going about doing with your team and sort of like to teach them or to like sort of hand things off?
Yeah, it's a good question. First of all, it kills me because it's so hard. It is. And like, it's like unbearably hard. And we're working through it right now. So I have a director of data and AI who kind of is leading all of our initiatives internally. So he's a, data analyst by trade, and he just was super passionate about AI. And so he's leading everybody. So one thing we did is we got everybody on a Claude plan. And, for a while he did weekly trainings. And so he'd teach them Claude, co-work, skills. He did a mandatory one on what, a GitHub repository is, stuff like that. He did one, this morning that has a small group of people. I'm just like, hey, here's, I'm going to build something live. Like, who has something they want to build? So just like trying to get people excited, showing them how it can help. And I would say it definitely helped. Like, everybody is using Claude daily, some people to different levels. I would say the highest level obviously is him. Like, one of my goals for him was to get our data warehouse in Claude. We were working with Polar to do that. So anyone can, get insights to that. And he's building a lot. We're building a lot. So like, he's done a ton. Obviously, I have our demand planning team built a demand planning software that we're doing that in there. So like, that is replacing an $80,000 a year software and doing it better, actually, because it's just it's better. So like, that's on one level. And then I would say like, it's like a bell curve. Most of the org is like, oh, I'll use some skills. I'll try this stuff. And then there, there's people that are kind of laggers. It's really hard. Like, he's even noticing, he's meeting with people, kind of doing some like internal FDE work. And it's like, people are really resistant to change. They're really resistant to change their workflows. And like, it's probably multiple reasons. Like, first of all, they just don't know what it's capable of. Sometimes they're, too busy. They worry that they're automating themselves out of a job. Like, that's definitely a concern of people. And so it's really, really, really hard. But what I think we're noticing is, and the ClickUp guy talked about, is like, you have to create disruption. Like, I have one person who is doing a really good job of using it, and she hasn't built stuff, but she's using it to do her workflows that like we've built stuff for her. And part of the reason is she's got an additional scope while losing people on her team. One is out on maternity leave. One person, just left, and it's taken time to backfill. So it's like, she's had no choice but to use it. But I think the people that are comfortable, it's like, well, why do I need to do that? And so like, I like pushing it as far as possible. I also don't have the time. Like maybe that's why it's like I don't have the time. So I'm like, oh, what can this do? Like, what can I need this info. What can I do? But like, I built 5 landing pages, and by built, I mean like we had the templates done, but I like populated with them with content without ever going in Shopify. Like, I use the Shopify CLI to do stuff you would normally do. Cause like, I'm not going to sit there and upload images. So like, I'm just like, don't have time. I'm too lazy to do that. But I just like pushing the boundaries and needles. And what I find are most people aren't doing that. They're just like comfortable doing their old workflow. So I don't know what the answer is. If anyone has, let me know. I'm curious your guys' thoughts. I just know that we have to disrupt it. And I think I tried to be a little bit more like, hey guys, we're doing this. This is exciting. And now it's like, no, you fucking have to do this if you want to work here anymore. Like, you have to do this process. You have to put this information here. It's just like a new way of doing it. Cause it's like, I have been unimpressed with, I don't know. People's like people think they're using Claude and they're using it to like 10% of its ability, I feel like.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is one of the things you mentioned, right? Which is always, I think whenever you have employee stuff and you're trying to get them motivated, the number one thing to look at is what are they scared of? So they're scared of, the things that they're automating themselves out of a job. So discussing and going and saying, look, like, this is not something that I am going to replace you for. I need you to know that I am doing this because I'm trying to make your life easier and to make the work that you're doing more efficient. And so like doubling down on that, I think also giving them a roadmap of what you hope it looks like, even if it's not going to be what it is. And that can be refined every like month, and going through and saying like, this is what we're trying to do. These are the things that are in my head, so that you have more transparency into it. So much of it as an employee, right, is like guessing what's the leader trying to do? Why are they getting into this? And so the more that you can go and transparently talk about that, it's great. The third one we talked about is incentives. Absolutely incentivizing people to say like, look, if and when you're adopting this, if you can prove to me XYZ that we're saving money, like there are financial incentives aligned with that. right? This is just like when they did when in lean process manufacturing and everything else, like when Toyota came up with Kaizen process in like, what was it, 1980 or whatever. It's like they gave people a proportional amount of money based on what percentage of time it saved each employee. And that's how everybody became obsessed with like, this screwdriver is too high for me, so let's put this screwdriver down here. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it was incremental. It wasn't huge. And I think a lot of times that like resonates with people, because a lot of people sit down. It's just like sitting down and being like, I'm going to write a book, and then sitting down to write the book. And you're like, well, fuck, I don't know where to even start with all this. And you're like, well, look, you just start small. Like, it's all brick by brick stuff. It's little things. It's it's like auditing your time and then trying to understand that. So I think it's understanding that it can be smaller and like tracking and modifying that and going through and sort of showing people the possibility of like, look, you're going to keep working here. You're a great employee. And if you want more time with your family, like, this is one way to do it. Like, this is a way to make that more efficient for you. And like incentivizing them that way too, if it's not the financial stuff. So not like, it's not threatening, but I'm saying like, so like, you want to spend time with your family, you better get on AI. It's like, no, like this is an opportunity. Okay. Like, this is something you can do. So I think those are some possibilities you go through with it. The final question go ahead.
So first of all, I'll say you're just so much better at that than me. Like, I just try to brute force it. And I think you're so much more thoughtful about and like empathetic about like, oh, here's what people are actually thinking. I'm like, I just want people to use it. But how do you feel about like everything you're saying is right? Totally agree. Give them the incentive, understand what they care about, like show them a shave. How do you feel about just like also just like kind of making it mandatory? Like, do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's a bad idea?
As a business owner and as the leader of any organization, you have the right to make anything you want to be mandatory. Okay, this is your organization. You can do that. The issue with mandatory statements or mandatory things in any organization is if you come in and say this is mandatory, period, that's a problem. Okay. And typically what people do in corporate settings, big corporate settings, is they'll come in and say, this is mandatory. And then there's like a paragraph of text from the leader and the people are like, what the fuck is this? And there isn't actually some sort of like run through of the why from the person leading the organization or the thesis behind it. You can disagree with that person, the leader, and some people may do that. But if you go through and say, look, here's the situation, okay? We're making AI mandatory in 40% of what you're doing. And I want to make sure you are all there. And it's important because of X, Y, and Z. It's going to allow us to scale. It's going to allow you to spend more time with your family. It's going to allow you to have more time to free think, which is going to strategically be a better alignment for us. It's going to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is a massive, massive leverage of being the emotional leader and saying, the fear that I have is X, Y, and Z. The hope that I have is X, Y, and Z. And going through all of these and speaking about it honestly and saying, I'm going to check back into this mandatory thing every month and I'm going to talk to you about it. And like, I also may not make it mandatory in the future if I feel like this is a bad idea. But right now, it's absolutely something that I do need to make mandatory. And I think that it's something that we will have mandatory for the rest of the existence of this company, right? So like, there's so much of it is very like, it's this and then it's dogmatic statement and that's where it ends. And I think a lot of it in getting people motivated and wrapped into it is to show them the why and what you're hoping is the future. And also allowing them to say, look, if you vastly disagree, if you totally disagree with me on this, number one, like you can't come to me and be a jackass, but like you have to some degree like protection. I'm not going to fire you for telling me if you think this is stupid or you think this can be better. Because if you do, that's you doing your job. I want you to know you're empowered to come to me and say, this is a problem. Like I had an employee that came to me literally this week and said like, hey, XYZ is bad in the community. Like a whole these different, and I was like, awesome. Like, thank you. Like that's incredible. Like the fact that you care enough to tell me. Right. And so, anyway, that's hopefully that helps answer it. But you can do that. You just have to sort of like describe it and you have to describe it from like the true point of view that you have that you would tell a friend. That's not, and once it gets into corporate settings, the true leaders that do this say it with an understanding and an empathetic understanding, and then they man the leaders under them to be able to describe it and not make it personality-less. Personality-less corporate speak is what like Gen Z, millennials even, like we hate this stuff because you can tell right away when it sucks. You know what I mean? It's just like the stuff people go on and they're like, the first AI marketing growth, whatever the fuck. You're like, this isn't real. Like, you can tell it sucks immediately. You're like, this is bad. It's like, and so like, you just think about it through that lens. And I think that actually has like a lot of implications in moving things forward in an organization.
Makes sense. Very thoughtful. Much more thoughtful than me. I agree.
Yeah, ditto.
Good take.
Well, this is like so much of what I do now is helping organizations and agencies that are in the founders community, like bring them up in terms of talking about employee stuff and and this is like, I live in that world a little bit now. Probably 30% of my time is coaching people within that. So it's something I talk about a lot. And AI is obviously a big topic because everyone's trying to figure it out. So, good episode. I feel like we got a lot of good shit in here. I have another question. Do you have time if I ask one more question, Cody?
Yeah.
Okay. So the one question is, you talked about KPIs and you said that you're redoing your KPIs now. So because I feel like, there's a lot of not focusing on the in-platform metrics, as you've said, but focusing on looking at incrementality more often. How are you reshaping KPIs in the age of AI to be making better decisions in the short and long term?
Expectations are just higher. Expect that people can do more, can get more done. I just think that they can move faster. For us, KPIs are tied to bonuses, as their overall rating, but also bonuses. If I'm going to be paying out based on it, it's got to be some pretty high expectations of what I think people are capable of and what I think best in class is capable of. And I don't think we're there yet, but I'm definitely going to set the expectations there. And so, when it comes down to the volume of output that we're expecting and number of ads launched or funnels launched or things like that, definitely trying to pair them hand in hand with it. You can just get more done. You can just get more done if you're using it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just curious your philosophy on it.
It's not KPIs, but one of the components of our performance evaluation is AI usage and utilization. Last year we did a bounty, and whoever did the most with it got won a bounty. And this year was like, all right, cool, like that was a fun thing. Like now we're making it mandatory. Like this is just a general, and obviously we tried to explain it, but this is just our general expectation. The same way you're using the computer and you're using Slack and email, this is a tool like that, and we will train you and invest in it. And here's why we're doing it. But so it is part of people's evaluation, and gets reviewed monthly.
Is that just like token usage?
No, because I don't want to incentivize that. It's just they're kind of having to prove how they're using it, how they're improving their role and their function, with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. Cody, thank you for being on. I appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Ben.